Hello everybody, welcome to the second Marvel Realm video on the channel. Now, obviously, we're still at a point we're still waiting to find out more details about the game, but what I thought I'd do was last week I put out a little community post as well as something in my Discord that basically talked about 10 hopes or some hopes in general that we'd like to see from Marvel Realm of Champions when it does go live. And what I'm going to do in this video is put up people's suggestions and as well follow up with a little bit of response to that and as well thoughts of my own when it comes to going further on the subject. Let's roll it. So Unknown puts pay-to-win elements need to be relaxed. Now in a perfect world, we'd love that to be the case. I'm sure that the gearing system will have some kind of premium elements to it. And as well with the fighting system, it will be like if you've got the best gear, then it's going to be you will win. Obviously MCOC is a little, just a small bit differently when it comes to the way that your skill level outweighs obviously what you've got for the champion. But still there are resources that cost the old spawn doolies. However though, we don't want the game to flop financially as a game like Marvel Battle Lines was, because obviously that did flop. But I can imagine there will be some elements to it. But if there's a skill element to it, then obviously there's going to be a great way in order to just be a free-to-play player and still enjoy this game. But only time will tell if that is going to be the case. Next up, and Karnage talks about the fair loot box system. I've taken this point and I've kind of made it a little bit askew, but I think it's important to represent depreciation. And something that obviously as an experienced 5-year player of Marvel Contest of Champions remembers putting a lot of money into the game from 2015 to 2016, but finding that when I am here now in 2020, that having the value of a 4-star, which I spent a lot of money to get, has actually depreciated so much that it's an unusable starage and rarity system. Yes, there's the odd synergy, but you can't use that in Act 5. Will there be something that is in Marvel Realm that understands the whole kind of premise of depreciation and what is fair if you are deciding to actually spend? Yes, there could be a loot box system which allows you to get up some amazing stuff and rarity and chances to find some kind of like amazing gear, but at the same time it needs to be fair for the longevity. So if you're starting off playing on day 1, that whatever you buy can be still of value 10 years, 5 years, 2 years down the line, whatever it's going to be. Spencer hopes different versions of characters and easy level progression. Level progression is something we're going to talk about in a moment, but I would say that it is definitely a good point that we will see different characters for sure. I don't think it will be quite as extensive as Marvel Contest of Champions, because I think the idea is that you'd get a basically skinless character which you then get to build and customize to your own liking. However, though, obviously with not really much to go on, it is something that we just do as a bit of a guessing game. But I would love to see that the implementation of XP boosts or building in the future for those that are freshly starting up and a new player experience be a lot better than Marvel Contest of Champions, which sort of made up the level progression and the thrusting up to level 60 as they went on. DVD31 wants to see solid gameplay from Kabam when they build this. And that is a very good point. We have to look at the game moving forward when it comes to mobile builds. Marvel Contest of Champions flows and looks the way it does, but at the same time games like Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Future Revolutions, which will be a future release on mobile, Marvel Super War, which they need to sort out that global release, and older games like Marvel Strike Force and Marvel Future Fight all have their own special look. Even other obscure Marvel games like Marvel Heroes do give you that sense of there has to be something different in this game that sets it apart, that makes players want to go, I want to pick up this game and I want to play it. And as well, the dynamic and the design and the build, from progression, from the story aspects, is there going to be something when it comes to the way that battles are played out, and as well the structure around events, competitions, in-game leaderboards, things that Marvel Contest Champions is sort of failing at the moment to do, which obviously Kabam need to learn the lessons from and deliver something completely new in this title. Stormchaser looks at the rate of progression and what a free-to-play player looks like compared to MCOC. And again, following up on that level progression thing earlier, and as well the previous point that I made, is bringing in things to the point of going, look, well, what's the player experience going to be? With the premium currency, obviously with MCOC, it's units. In other games, it could be gold or whatever. The way that that is implemented for things like going, okay, is this difficult content? Is it always a case that you have to use things like revives or whatever this in-game currency is going to be? And will that allow you to have fun? And will it be a case that you'll be then trying to further progress yourself into the next stages of the story mode? like Act 6 has been with MCOC, and the lessons, again, learning lessons. You've got to learn from that stuff and try and make it different and not like that whatsoever. And obviously taking into consideration other mobile games out there, big names that are promoting themselves out there, like your Marvel Strike Forces, like your Raid Shadow Legends, like anything else out there mobile wise. Getting in there and just going, okay, I can pick up this game for about an hour and I don't lose progression compared with, say, the whales of the game, and as well those that are able to put in 10 hours as opposed to your 1 hour. Feeling a nice kind of like community spirit and all being able to do stuff at the same type of levels is going to make this more interesting and fun for you as a player. Nova Centurion talks about RNG factors and to have it not have any kind of likeness to the likes of Marvel Strike Force. Yeah, at the end of the day, RNG factors are a big part of mobile games, so it would be nice that this was either looked into with games like Marvel Contest Champions, Strike Force, and other games where you see random number generators. It can be a little bit frustrating, but as well when it comes to the loot box systems and that and what you get from it, that's another thing entirely. But yeah, I do agree that games shouldn't always kind of look the same. But I think Kabam need to look at this as being having blinkers on. Obviously in horse races, blinkers are put on in order to avoid the horse's attention from other horses and just be like, right, well, distracting, keep focused on what needs to be done. But at the same time, looking at the competition, I think that's one thing. Look at what the competition are doing and obviously make sure to put your game out being differently. And obviously our hope is that it is completely different and takes into consideration stuff that player bases of any mobile game find frustrating. Next up, and Wolf talks about auto fighting. Auto fighting is something that is very near and dear to me because the fact is Marvel Contest Champions is rubbish. They don't do a very good job with the auto fighting system. Other mobile games have the sequence where you can actually take on a full quest or repeat a quest if you're grinding out something like a resource. Marvel Contest Champions doesn't do that. They tried that briefly with the Chinese version, which is not the version that's currently in China at the moment, but another version where you were able to auto fight some arena, so therefore battle chip grinding was actually less of a time grind and was more enjoyable for a lot of players. Now that's something obviously I hope that Marvel Realm of Champions and Kabam have considered when they've done this new venture, this new team, this new building, that they can get this right for a lot of players so they can just go, right, well, if I need to grind out a specific resource to rank up something, level up something, or do something that is not so extensive, and you just literally click a button and basically grind through a raid, grind through a dungeon, and all that elements of stuff that needs to be just so much easier on the time. Okay, now onto one of my own, which is optimized for devices. One of my biggest gripes about Marvel Contest of Champions is indeed optimizing for devices. With M's account on her phone, which is a Samsung device, it does not run as well as it should. And that is the problem. As games evolve, yes, okay, devices become somewhat obsolete. But it shouldn't be a case of a device bought a year ago that should be a problem. And something that a lot of players are experiencing. At the moment, the current issue with Marvel Contest of Champions is Android users with the Samsung A70 devices, which is causing a problem and it is just not addressed. So it's a case that if Marvel Realm is to understand their mobile market, is to go, look, well, we've now got this game. It runs successfully on a lot of devices in the last, I don't know, 3 to 4 years. I think I'm being optimistic by saying the last 5 years, but I'd say 3 years max, coming into early 4 years, should be where the game should function with no issues at all. But obviously, game developers are putting more effort into designing because there's more demand on mobile devices, and mobile devices are getting better when it comes to graphics. So it's a bit of a difficult one to win that argument there, but it would be nice for optimization so that when we've got drop blocks and things and rubbish stuff that affects skill when it comes to Marvel Contest of Champions, which does cost us as the player base when it comes to revives, units, stuff like that, it should not be in Marvel Realm of Champions, and there should be an element of fairness to the optimization when these elements of skill have to be put in, if there's skill elements to the way you have to overly play this game. Next up, and something from me again, is engaging storylines. Marvel Contest of Champions, from a story point, when I first started playing it, didn't seem that it had much of a story behind the idea of going, okay, well, you face off against Kang, of that there's Thanos, and then it was like there's Maestro, and then things kind of escalated from there with implementing the Collector. The Collector left his post, used to observe on the arena, and as well had more kind of influence in the game, and then the things just changed, and it was just very, very weird. But at the same time, obviously it was a case that I understand they had an idea it was going to go from point A to point Z, but the fact is making it up as you go along, putting in B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, all the kind of like different alphabet there to create the story to get to the end point, which now we are now restarting again, seems a bit kind of like weird. But obviously with Gabe at the helm and obviously having an idea from a start point to where it's got to end, this seems the Battle of Houses, this kind of fractured battle realm that we are now on, and this kind of like battle plane, which is just absolutely strange. I think the plane is called Maelstrom, World Maelstrom, I think. But that's just like a cool thing to start off with. I just hope that the storyline is good from start to wherever they're going to go, and obviously hopefully the game is going to last years on years on years. Oh, and before I forget, implement some of these houses in the way that the story structure should be. It does seem that that is where they're going to go with it, but obviously from a story aspect, it's like, well, how did we become so dystopian? Is there an apocalyptic? Why is there an apocalyptic start to this? What's happened from point A to point B? Why are the Watchers involved with this so heavily? Those things are going to be incredibly important to find out. And the final thing is, hopefully this game is not too much emphasis on the time grind side of things. Even though it feels that I've kind of addressed this in some ways, I think the point to really take home from this is that with things like Arena, which let's face it has been taking up people's time for 72 hours, in some cases a huge chunk of that has been obviously grinded out by loads of play. Aegon recently has gone for incredibly high numbers. So that's the thing, when it comes to Marvel Realm of Champions, is learning the lessons that Marvel Contest of Champions fails on, and it fails on that kind of competitive edge when it comes to extensive time grind, and those, like many other people, even myself, thinking I'm not going to be able to put in the extent of time, points and resources to get a 90 mil champion. So if there's something like an arena in Marvel Realm, or something where you grind out to get something that, or there's some kind of like a tournament, that it doesn't feel like this is either pay to win or it's so extensively unfair that really kind of sucks a lot of your time. Because that's the thing, we want to be able to play other games. Like I want to be able to play Marvel Contest of Champions and Marvel Realm as well. So being able to balance my time correctly is going to be vitally important. So hopefully that is something that we're going to see. So there we have it. That has been another week, another video talking about 10 things we'd love to see in Marvel Realm. A little bit of yours and a little bit of mine, and hopefully we get a good chunk of this stuff actually in game. Do bear in mind, this game is likely to have more info on it in the coming weeks. Pyramid X has just been kind of pushed as a house, which you can see on the social medias of the game. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to check out some other content, and as well, I think I'm going to call everybody Realmers. I think this channel will call you all Realmers. See you later, Realmers. Bye bye for now. Have a lovely weekend.